Hey everybody, Alex from SeemsGoodMagic.com here, and we're joined by Sam Rubin, Seems Good Magic constant contributor. Awesome content from Sam. You can check out his channel. We'll have that link in the description, of course. And today, Sam, we are doing Amonkhet spoilers.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited about these, especially the lands.
Oh yeah, this is crazy already. What everybody is seeing on the screen here is absolutely crazy. I didn't expect to see the dual land like this again. It's sort of a dual land, I guess. But let's talk about the theme of the set a little bit. I mean, this is exciting in itself. So we've got an ancient Egypt inspired set. I learned about ancient Egypt back in grade school, so I definitely get a nostalgic feeling just looking at, mummy related stuff and pyramids, of course, and stuff like that. But Sam kind of made my brain explode a little while before we recorded here, talking about sort of how the release date of Amonkhet has to do with the Jewish holiday of Passover, which I knew nothing about the history of. I'd always heard Passover, and I kind of knew it was like a little sort of, holiday sort of thing. But Sam, why don't you explain the significance here?
Yeah, so I don't know if it's really significant, but Passover, which is the holiday celebrating the Jews leaving Egypt, right, fleeing slavery in Egypt for 400 years, is kind of like the same week of the pre-release and release of Amonkhet. So I just found that a little strange, but I don't know if they did it on purpose. It seems really hard to set up, but
it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go over the cards that have already been spoiled. So
Sure.
There's not a ton, but we've already seen some new mechanics, which is cool. But first, let's look at this little set, this little cycle that we're looking at here. So we've got dual lands, all friendly colored. They all have cycling too, but seemingly the most important part, they are actual land types on them. We've got a forest plains, a mountain forest, swamp mountain, island swamp, and plains island. So Sam, what is the significance of this?
So I think that the reason that there are land types is most likely for modern legacy stuff. That being said, I don't know if they're playable in those formats just because they come into play tapped. That's a big deal.
Yeah.
But what I will say is that this makes the comeback of domain possible because you suddenly have more different land types. So maybe in the next block, I don't know. It kind of fits the theme, right? If you're traveling to a bunch of ancient lands, then maybe domain makes sense. Just a theory. But also, something cool that this specific set does is that having both the irrigated farmland, the white-blue land, and the fetid pools, the blue-black land, I think really makes Control a lot better. One of the things that Control had to do in the last two sets basically, was play a card like Anticipate that is not fantastic, doesn't do a ton, mostly just kind of cycles in the late game when any of your action spells are good, but Anticipate isn't one of those. And so instead of having to play an Anticipate on turn 2, sometimes you're going to be able to cycle a land here, which may let you cut some amount of Anticipates for either lands or meaningful spells. I don't know if that's really going to work out yet, but I like that. On the flip side, one of the creatures we get to later kind of is good against Control, but I think this is more good for Control than that card is bad for it. So I really like this land cycle, and I think it does a lot to affect the standard meta.
Yeah, it's good observations, and super stoked to see cycle lands again. I mean, I played a lot of cycle lands in other formats, and I do know that these cycle lands were at least popular in some Pauper decks. Yeah, cycle lands, I mean, cycling on a land is great, right? Because if you're getting mana screwed, you want to play your land, and if you're getting mana flooded, what better thing than be able to pay some mana and turn it into a new card, right?
I mean, it's insane. Now, again, these aren't cycle 1, but they are also dual lands, so we can't expect the world here.
You can't get everything, yeah. No, I think these are fantastic, and I think these are absolutely going to see a lot of standard play, as you said. Okay, moving on, we've got the card you just mentioned that is made to screw over Control. But, I mean, this card is basically always around, I would think. I mean, it's always around to make sure that control is in check. So this one is Prowling Serpopard, 1 and 2 green. It's a 4/3 cat snake creature, which is a very interesting creature hybrid. I love the art too. It's a little slithering cat-faced snake thing. And it can't be countered, and creature spells you can't be countered. So efficient creature, can't be countered, and creature spells you control can't be countered. I mean, that is lockdown against the counterspell deck, right?
Yes, what I will say is I don't think this card's good.
I mean, it's going to be a sideboard card at best, I guess.
What? Okay. So let's say you're playing green-black snakes, fine, and you need a sideboard card against Jeskai control, and that's a matchup that you're theoretically losing. How is this better than like Gonti or Lifecraft's Bestiary? I just don't think so, right? I mean, the thing is that in that matchup, the way they're interacting with your board are through like sweepers and cheap spells like Fatal Push, killing your constrictors, and like, yeah, this doesn't die to Fatal Push, and maybe they can't dissolve something, but wouldn't you rather stick like a for sure 2 or 3 or 4 for 1 like a Gonti or a Lifecraft's Bestiary? I just don't know if this is really the real deal. It also walks right into Torrential Gearhulk. Like, Torrential Gearhulk just eats this forever. Like, I don't know. It dies to a right. Dynavolt Tower. That's a big deal.
I mean, let's compare it to like Great Sable Stag or something, which, I mean, Stag basically saw some sideboard play against fairies. And even then, it eventually got hosed by the 3/4 gargoyle land or whatever. But the whole point was it had protection from black, it had protection from blue. It's like, okay, those are fairy colors. And then it couldn't be countered. So it's like, what more could the deck ask for? But it turned out even that wasn't necessarily enough to consistently beat the fairies deck, I don't believe.
Also, you don't want to tap out on turn 3 against Saheeli. Like, you know, you're on the draw or whatever, and your opponent plays a Saheeli, and you have this in your hand. Like, you're just not happy. You have to do something to impact the board, but if you don't leave mana up, or you don't have some way to kill the Saheeli or the Felidar Guardian, so then you're in a weird spot where you have to, like, leave up removal, maybe, but you want to play this, and then when you play it late, it just runs into a Torrential Gearhulk, like...
And it's pretty easily killable too. I mean, yeah, sure, it can't be countered. Other creatures you spells you control can't be countered, but then you just kill it, and then stuff can be countered again. So
Grasp of Darkness, Harness Lightning, they all get it.
Yeah. So you're right. It's probably nothing crazy, and I guess at best I considered it a sideboard card. But you're right. Maybe it doesn't even make that status. I guess time will tell. Moving on, we have Renewed Faith, which is a reprint. 3 mana. Instant, gain 6 life. It's an uncommon, and then it cycles for 1 and a white, and if you cycle it, you gain 2 life, which is actually very good, I would say, in limited, right? Would you pretty much, just for the cycling alone, the fact that it's 2 mana cycle, gain 2 at instant speed, do you think that's good enough in limited?
I don't think this card is playable. That being said, if there are things that interact well with life gain, maybe it is.
I was thinking interact well with cycle. Like, we're going to see return of, hopefully not Astral Slide. I think they learned their lesson on that one. Card was way too annoying to play against. But I imagine with seeing cycling, I guess it's not a guarantee, but I wouldn't mind seeing some cycling-related benefits, but just not Astral Slide, essentially.
So that's the thing, right? Is that Renewed Faith, if put in a set like Aether Revolt, the set that we're in currently, I don't think it's playable. If it's put in a set with Astral Slide, and you have an Astral Slide, then it's playable. So yeah. I don't think the card's playable on its own, but if it has some great synergy with your deck, then it's probably good.
It's a good point. I guess we're going to have to see the rest of the spoilers as they come out to know that, but I guess I just imagined there were going to be a few cards that give you some cycling benefits, but maybe that whole cycle of enchantments that gave you cycling benefits were all too good in hindsight. I can't recall. All I remember is just getting my teeth kicked in by Astral Slide and being absolutely furious. So that's all I really
That did
remember.
happen, yeah.
Okay, next. Aven Mindcensor, another reprint. This is 2 and a white, 2/1 bird wizard with a. I like the new art. It's kind of Egyptian, upgraded here, updated, and it's got flash and flying. And if an opponent would search a library, that player searches the top 4 cards of that library instead. This was a sideboard card, I believe, against the Teachings deck. That didn't see a lot of play. That was right when Lorwyn came out, I believe, and Planeswalkers were first starting to see play. Time Spiral was still around, and I think people were playing Mystical Teachings and like a toolkit sort of deck, and this was like a sideboard card at that time from Future Sight, I believe, that was against it. What are your feelings about Aven Mindcensor?
All right, these are my feelings, and they're odd, but Mark Rosewater, one of the head designers of Magic, has already stated that when they make a new modern, a new format, it will not have fetches in it. That being said, they probably do, even though there won't be fetches, they probably still want to have cards like Aven Mindcensor, because something that Magic likes to do is print cards that can search your library for things. So my feeling is that this is a reprint that might not impact Standard tremendously, but is probably there so that whenever they make new Modern in a year and a half or 2 years, they have an Aven Mindcensor in the format.
That makes sense. I think that's probably...
I think they've been sneaking a few cards in there recently, and I think this is probably one that just gets snuck in there. I don't know if it's really going to do anything in Standard, but, you know.
You might be right. That might be a good observation. They're just sort of giving themselves the option in case players are like, man, we need something like Aven Mindcensor in our sideboards to deal with this deck.
Yeah, I mean, there's just not a lot in Standard that needs to get Aven Mindcensored right now. So I'm not really sure why they would need it in Standard unless they're planning on printing something. But, I mean, those abilities, like the search my library, I win the game abilities, are generally unfun. And they're not printing fetch lands in the new modern era, whatever that is. So because of all these, I mean, that's really the only reason I could have seen for it.
I think you're right. All right, moving on. We have Unwavering Initiate with a brand new mechanic. So Unwavering Initiate is 2 and a white, 3/2 common human warrior creature. It has Vigilance, and it has Embalm, 4 and a white. Embalm, 4 and a white, is what this Unwavering Initiate's Embalm cost is. And Embalm is exile this card from your graveyard, create a token that's a copy of it, except it's a white zombie human warrior with no mana cost. Embalm only is a sorcery. Now, I should clarify, because this is a white human warrior creature, the Embalm turns it into a white zombie human warrior creature. So whatever creature type it is, whatever color it is, that's what color zombie. You'll basically get the same thing, except it's a zombie. Correct?
I would imagine. Wait, do they have to be zombies? They probably do. They're coming back from the dead,
I think they're
right?
all zombies, yes.
Yeah. Oh, that's true. That also fits in with the theme. All right.
With being embalmed, yes.
Yeah.
So I like Embalm. I mean, Embalm is a fantastic mechanic for Limited, which is, of course, the only way that I look at things. You would know Standard a lot better than I would, presumably other formats as well. But just from a Limited perspective, this card is great, and you would jam a ton of them. The fact that it has Vigilance, that common, just a 3-mana 3/2 Vigilance is certainly playable. Tack on top, late game value. This is a fantastic common. I like this card a lot.
This is insane. Also, one note about the art. It looks kind of like the Roman Colosseum, except in Egypt, right?
Yeah.
So are we getting like a Rome set soon? I'm excited for that one. That plays into my domain idea from before, by the way.
You might be right about that. I don't know, but you're right. It's kind of... They didn't have things like that in Egypt. Well, the armor is kind of Egyptian looking, right?
No, for sure. The armor is Egyptian looking, but it looks like people are watching them, and he has spears, so he's probably fighting something. Like, I don't know. It could be Roman Colosseum-esque.
That's true. It's kind of an Egyptian looking god, though, in that little statue in the back.
Right. No, I definitely think they're in Egypt, but there's just like some cross-play there, I think.
I see what you're saying. Definitely. This card's great. Next, it looks like 100%. Just a bunch of lands, so people like to look at the art on the new lands, and the art is good. Moving on. Okay. let's talk about the invocations. So the invocations are carrying on the tradition, this new sort of thing they're doing from I guess all sets moving forward, from what I understand. This carries on the invention from Kaladesh and Aether Revolt, correct?
Yes. And
So
from the set before, these, I mean, the masterpieces are in the same category.
okay, so the whole idea is you have an extremely rare chance. I think it's 1 in 144 boosters, I believe, of getting a very, very rare card. And it's going to be a card that's a reprint from older sets. And the whole point is they're making cards that at least see play in another format, whether it be Modern, Legacy, sideboard from those, main deck from those. You get this amazing kind of crazy looking art, and you get a playable card. And I'm assuming the whole point of this is to I actually just love the idea because it's giving people treasure, right? So you get this extremely rare treasure. I assume this treasure is going to have some value. And on top of that, maybe it's just a card that somebody, is highly desirable for older formats. Does that all sound pretty accurate, Sam?
Yeah, I mean, what I will say is I think it's 1 in every 3 boxes, not 1 in every case. Or at least that was the way it was with Inventions. Like, Inventions and Masterpieces were 1 every 3 boxes.
Okay.
So I think it's probably still that. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of negative to say about these and a lot of positive to say about these. So, I'm sure we'll get into it in a second here. But, I mean, I do agree that having treasure cards is definitely like a cool thing. They feel awesome to open. I don't know if you've opened one, Alex, but they feel awesome to open.
I didn't. And you did?
Yeah. Well, so it took me a long time. I was like way due. I'd opened like 7 boxes and not opened one. And then I opened a miscut one. Ding, 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 ding. And then I opened Sword of Feast and Famine, I opened a German one or something like that. Yeah. So
very cool.
Yeah.
What do you think of the art on these Amonkhet invocations?
So I assume a lot of our viewers know who Eric Klug is. Klug, maybe. Very famous magic, or very well-known magic altarist. And he really liked some of the art. And then some of the art he thought clashed a little too much with the frame. So something like this aggravated assault here on the bottom right, he was making a point that he thinks the background should have been more brown, similar to the frame, so that like the people and things in the shot really stand out, and so it feels more like a cohesive card. All of that being said, the fact that like they're kind of hard to read, I mean. Yeah. The format you're playing these in, what people don't understand is it's not like you're playing these in standard at your F&M with like Johnny that has only played Magic once. You're playing these at like a Legacy Grand Prix or a Legacy night where everyone has hundreds of reps, and I just don't think that not being able to read them perfectly, quickly and succinctly is going to be a huge deal. And that being said, they're very thematic, so I have to give them a thumbs up. But
the for some reason, I just really love the template on them, that, the background and stuff. I don't know exactly what I guess it's just because it fits so thematically well with ancient Egypt. It's got like the hieroglyphics going on and stuff like that. So I'm a big fan, and I don't even play these older formats where these cards would actually be legal. But let's see. I mean, what was like average value of the inventions?
So the masterpieces are high value, right? Like something like a foil Misty Rainforest is going for like 300 right now from the masterpiece collection. I know that there are a lot of inventions, specifically the ones that are like sort of play in EDH but not really, are in the $15 to $25 range right now.
Okay.
The high end on inventions the last 2 sets has been around 100, like like a Mana Crypt or whatever has been about 100. Okay. That being said, something like Force of Will is probably set to take price in the 250 to 300 area, at least when it comes out. So, yeah, I mean, they seem to have some ability to be high money. What I do want to say quickly is that I've been talking to a store owner about this, and they hate these. The reason being is Okay, so what they've been printing these to try to kind of like sell more boxes, make people more excited. What they've
Yeah.
been doing alongside this is they've been printing boxes like crazy. When you print boxes like crazy, standard card prices go down. When standard card prices go down, it makes it harder for Magic stores to make a living because no longer can you open 3 cases of product, sell the commons, uncommons, rares, mythics, and make a little money for your business.
You're right.
So the LGSs are really being hurt by this because Wizards has to increase supply because there's increased demand, but the increased supply has the effect of bringing standard prices down, which is good for players like you and I, but bad for LGSs. So I've been hearing a few complaints like that, not just from one owner, from a few. So that is something to take into account.
That's a good observation. Here. Okay. Well, looking forward to seeing more of these. Wait, how many inventions are there, or invocations are there going to be total? How many inventions, I guess, were there total?
I don't know about the invention numbers, but invocations, I think 30.
Oh, all right. I guess
you're missing the first wave, which was like Days, Maelstrom Pulse.
Okay. We'll get down those.
They're here.
Just a sec. Okay, next we have this Miasma Mummy, and this is a common. It's 1 and a black. It's a zombie jackal. I always love these like weirdo creature type mashups. Zombie jackal. When Miasma Mummy enters the battlefield, each player discards a card. So, is that ability going to have significance in this format, or is this just a 2-mana 2/2 with a not necessarily a downside, actually, I guess, since it affects your opponent as well? What do you think?
I don't know, but I mean, it seems playable in aggro decks where like maybe you play it with another 2-drop on turn 5 and your opponent has to discard and you don't. What I will say is the fact that I can make Even Mind Sensor a zombie jackal seems awesome.
Yeah. So this card, yeah, I agree. I like what it does for aggro decks, and you can see Rotting Rats is one of the Thesaurus cards, and I would say the Miasma Mummy is much better for aggro decks. I'd much rather pay 2 mana for a 2/2 rather than pay 2 mana for a 1/1 with the
100%
Unearth ability. I think that's more valuable for aggro to get the 2/2. Okay, so we can see some more invocations here. We've got Days, Loyal Retainers, Dark Ritual, Vindicate, Mind Twist, Force of Will, Worship, Counterbalance.
Wrath of God is
Counterspell.
sweet. Consecrated Sphinx is sweet.
Yeah, so they've got some very cool invocations, art-wise, frame-wise, of course. Now, let us finish off the Amonkhet spoilers here. So we've got Gravedigger, functional, a total reprint.
Great card.
Great card. Always very, very playable and limited. Excellent, powerful effect. And the beauty, Sam, as you well know, of Gravedigger. You have a Gravedigger in your graveyard, you play a Gravedigger, you get Gravedigger back. Your Gravediggers never go away. They just keep coming back and bringing each other back, too.
If it sounds good to you as the viewer, it feels so much better to actually do it.
Yeah, and it goes infinite with itself. And I believe it was formerly a common, though, right? Am I wrong on that, or...?
I have not. As long as I've been playing, it's been an uncommon. That's all I got.
Oh, is that right? Okay.
I've been playing since like M14.
Now I gotta look. Maybe you're right. Oh, was it? Okay. In 2012, it was a common.
Yeah, I've been playing since M14, so the one time I've seen it, it's been an uncommon.
But you're right. So the last time it was printed in 2015, because I'm not counting Tempest Remastered. So in M15, it was an uncommon, and then in Magic 2012, it was a common. So they were like way too good and limited at common, which I agree with. I think it's too good at common just because it, like I said, it kind of goes infinite with itself.
I mean, it would be a first pick rare if it was at rare. That's how good this card is.
I don't know if it would be a first pick rare.
I mean, sometimes it would be for sure. I mean, you definitely first pick this card as a common, and there are definitely some bad rares. So
that's true.
You can definitely first pick this.
I first pick it often. I don't think it's powerful enough to go rare territory, but regardless, I think we both agree it needed to be uncommon, and I do agree with that. I don't like it at common. I think it hurts limited a little bit too much. Okay, next we have Angler Drake, 4 and 2 blue. 4/4 uncommon Drake creature. It's got flying, and when it enters the battlefield, return target creature to its owner's hand. This card's great. I mean, it's a little bit expensive, but I'm okay paying 6 mana for a 4/4, and I think the effect is actually very powerful. Like a tempo deck, play this, bounce your fatty. Now I have a 4/4. You gotta that's flying over top of your other dudes and can hold back, all your 3-power creatures. So I really like this card a lot.
100% agree. Even just in like a control deck, just being able to help you turn the corner, right? It just really helps you stabilize and maybe even get you ahead on the board. So I think it's good.
This is going to be an excellent top-end card in Limited for blue decks. Next, we have Spidery Grasp, yet another reprint. 2 and a green. It's a common instant untap target creature. It gets +2/+4 and gains reach until end of turn. This is one of those cards that can be very difficult to play around in Limited, and it's actually a very powerful combat trick. I'm a big fan of Spidery Grasp. I think it's a great combat trick. Sam, thoughts?
It's good. Is it great? I don't know. Is it insane? I don't know. I've never played with it. As you said, I think it's from an older set. Again, I've just started M14, so I'm not.
Okay.
I'm a little young, but
it's a powerful effect, definitely.
Yeah.
And I'm curious to see how late it ends up going eventually.
You can't play more than one, though, right?
I mean, +2/+4 is a great buff, and untapping just lets you. The beauty of Spidery Grasp is really I can attack with my guy. You can't block because I'll buff, and now you can't attack back because I'll just Spidery Grasp, untap, and then block. So it lets you attack and it lets you block, which is why it's such a great trick.
Can you play more than one of these in your decks, or not really? You can just play.
I would be comfortable playing 2. I guess I probably wouldn't be comfortable playing more than that.
Okay.
But yeah, I would definitely play 2. Because honestly, Sam, who would expect the second one? Once you blow them out with that first Spidery Grasp, they're like, okay, at least I got past the Spidery Grasp. And then you play that second one, and they rip their hair out of their head.
So you're basically just playing it for like opponent wants to kill themselves value, kind of.
Yeah, essentially. Okay, next we have Hyena Pack. 2 and 2 red, 3/4 common hyena creature. And that's it. So it's like a vanilla 3/4 for 4 mana. I'm not a huge fan of this card only because we saw in the last set, I forget its name now. What was the 3 and a black 3/4 from Kaladesh?
Procta Club Security.
Yes, thank you. And that did see some play, but black, I believe, is supposed to have weaker creatures than red, and that creature was easier to cast than Hyena Pack. So I don't anticipate Hyena Pack seeing a ton of play in the format, but it's certainly a 3/4 body is fine on its own, and 4 mana is not an outrageous cost. I just don't like the fact that it's 2 red.
Yeah, they've done this a bunch of times with 2 red where it's a 4/3, and that card's playable. 3/4, not playable. I honestly think the 1 power is a big deal in a red deck.
Yeah, you're right. I think I would rather have a 4 mana. That seems strange to say, but maybe it's format dependent. But you're right. I guess in a format that has a lot of 3 mana 3/2s, a 4 mana 3/4 is better. In a format that's going to have a lot of 3 mana 2/3s, you'd much rather have the 4/3s. So I guess that's sort of the unanswered question right now that will determine how powerful this card is.
Totally,
if that makes sense.
Totally makes sense.
All right. Next we have Fling. 1 and a red, common, instant. This is also a reprint, I should add. But as an additional cost to cast Fling, you sack a creature, and then you get to fling that creature's power right at another creature or a player. Fling is a really fun card to play. Early on, when I first started recording draft videos, I would always go out of my way to do the Active Treason Fling limited decks, which still end up being a 2 for 2, but man, it is fun to do, I tell you. Steal your strongest creature, attack with it, fling it right at your next most powerful creature or your face, and that was a lot of fun. Have you got some experience with Fling, Sam?
The only experience I have is in partner with Nivik Cyclops, which was equally as fun.
Yeah, Nivik Cyclops is the one that has Defender, but then when you play a sorcery or something or an instant, it turns into it loses Defender.
Right, but it gets +3/+0. So it's kind of like a 2 for 0, except that your opponent dies.
So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how Fling works in this format. I imagine we're going to see a Steel Creature effect at some point as well. If there's not already one, maybe there is. Next is Dune Beetle. This card's cool because it's an interesting little body for 2-mana black creature. I actually really like this card a lot in limited for that very reason, but it's a 1 and a black 1/4 common insect creature. Now, I'd love to get your thoughts on this, Sam, because my feeling is this is actually going to be very good for some. If blue-black control is an archetype that's good, this would be an excellent little thing to just stave off those aggro decks. What do you think?
I would imagine that this does fit into that deck. That being said, in the formats where they want to push blue control decks, they often have a 2-mana blue creature that somehow fixes your draws, whether it be Aether Theorist or Sigiled Starfish or something like that. Those would definitely see play over this. That being said, this is, I mean, it's 5 pips, right? It's 1 power for defense for 2 mana. So it's going to be good in most ways you could cut it up. Unless it's like an 0-5, right? That would be bad. But 1/4, 2/3, 3/2, 4/1, all good stats for 2 mana. So I definitely assume this is going to see some play.
And if you suit it up, it's a good starting little body for wearing equipment or auras and stuff too. So,
totally.
Yeah, I'm interested. I'm down for Dune Beetle, and I think it'll go mid to late, depending on, I guess, how the format goes. Once again, if there's a lot of 3-mana 3/2s, Dune Beetle could see a lot of play. It'd be a pretty effective, cheap little blocker. Okay, next we have Curse Minotaur, which is a card I immediately just looked at and was like, I like this card. This card is going to be good and limited, and I'm not even afraid to say that anymore. I just know this card is going to be good and limited. So it's 2 and a black, 3/2 common zombie Minotaur creature with menace. Now, right off the bat, you just think, well, it's nothing like crazy, right? It's not crazy, but it is very, very good, and you're always going to play it in your black deck. Sam, what's your opinion on it?
I mean, there's a 2/3 same stat, like menace, zombie, minotaur, whatever, or something like that, in limited right now, and it sees play. And a 3/2 is just much better for having menace, right? The menace creatures, you want them to attack. So
yes, you're right. The Alley Strangler was the one you're thinking of, right? The 2/3 menace.
Yeah, exactly. I just missed the name, but yeah. So I mean, if a 2/3 menace sees play, this is going to see a lot of it.
Yes, this card is very good, and I know it's going to see a lot of limited play, and I know it's going to put people away. Menace is a great limited mechanic.
Although this doesn't go very well with the Dune Beetle. You probably don't want to be playing them in the same deck.
Yeah, I guess that's true. But I probably will. I imagine there's going to be a few times where I'm playing these together. Okay, next is Ancient Crab. Yet another defensive creature. 1 and 2. This is a reprint as well. 1 and 2 blue, 1/5 crab creature at common. Now, this actually didn't see a ton of limited play. It saw some, of course, at the time. To be honest, I forgot we can look it up real quick, where Ancient Crab originally came from. Because now I'm curious. I want to. Oath of the Gatewatch. So it was actually pretty recent, to tell the truth. But it did not see a ton of play in Oath of the Gatewatch. It did see a little bit. I think the double blue is a bit too steep of a requirement. What do you think?
Yeah. So here's the thing: is why would you pay 2 mana symbols, right? So 2 like double blue, and an extra mana on top of that, just for like 1 extra toughness? That doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Like, you just have Dumb Beetle a 1/4. Isn't that just a strictly better card, I would assume?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, with Dune Beetle already in the format, I do not see Ancient Crab seeing a ton, if any, play.
I agree. It'll see a little bit, but people that are playing it are not generally happy. Okay, next, Mighty Leap, another reprint. 1 and a white, instant. Target creature gets +2/+2 and gains flying until end of turn. Good way to put people away. It's a good combat trick. You can catch their flyers, too. Not too much needs to be said about Mighty Leap. It'll go mid to late. It'll be a playable combat trick. You'll probably end up cutting it from a few decks, honestly, because you'll just have better removal or other combat tricks you want to do. But yes, Mighty Leap is playable. We don't need to go too much on that. Or Giant Spider, for that matter. Giant Spider is just gold standard, cool, green card. 3 and a green, 2/4, common spider with reach. Not much to be said about these two cards, honestly. Giant Spider, always playable in your green deck. You're always happy to have it. It's one of those cards that lets you get to your fatties and just stops flyers all day. It's a great body. It's an old school card, too. I mean, we're talking alpha, I believe. I want to say Giant Spider is straight up alpha. Yeah. So it's always beautiful to see a card that has stuck around for 20 plus years, wouldn't you say?
Especially with power creep happening. Like, You know, the fact that there's so much power creep and Giant Spider is still playable and limited is a little
It's very
insane.
telling, yeah, of how strong Giant Spider actually was
For sure.
and is. It's still a great card in limited. Okay, next we have an actual new one, I believe. Actually, I think this is a new card. I'd be surprised if it... Maybe I'm wrong, though. Okay. So Sixth Sense actually is a new card. It's just... We've seen something called, I believe, Keen Senses or something.
Yep, Keen Sense. It's
Keen
played in
Sense,
Boggles.
which is like similar, maybe?
A little bit. It's played in Boggles.
I see. Okay. I like this card. I think this is good. It's tough because you have to have a good evasive creature, I think, to really take advantage of it. So for that reason, you can't just jam it anywhere, which does make this difficult to both pick up because it's uncommon, so you don't want to really pick it up early. But will it wheel? I actually think it will. So I think if you're in a deck that would actually want Sixth Sense, you're going to be able to see it wheel pretty often. So, Sam, I have a feeling you probably don't like this card very much. Is that accurate?
This is the reason, right? In Magical Christmas Land, you play Sixth Sense while your opponent's tapped out. You're like, sweet. You attack. They can't block. They don't have a creature, whatever. You get a card. Then they kill it. You just, like, lost tempo and got 2 for 2'd. So, like, you didn't gain any card advantage. Nothing fantastic happened. And you lost a turn because you played Sixth Sense. Like, that's all that happened, you know? I mean, you got a little bit of damage in. That being said, obviously going to see play in Modern. Boggles could always use another Keen Sense, so going to see play there, but not a huge fan of this in Limited. That being said, if there are some hexproof creatures, maybe it's good there.
Good with evasion. I guess if green-blue with
for
some
sure.
flyers is a thing, I could see Sixth Sense seeing play. But like I said, it's not a card you have to pick up early. I think you're going to be able to see it late. And if you're in a deck that actually wants it, I think you're going to have free reign if you're interested in it. So
yeah, these are going to be wheeling for sure. So I mean, you can pick one up 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th. You don't have to take it early. Even if you're somebody that really wants them, right? Even if you're like, oh, I'm going to be the 2-mana 3/2 Sixth Sense deck. Like, even if that's your strategy, you can pick these up late. Do not worry about it.
True. Okay. Next, we have Impeccable Timing. We just played with this card. We're still playing with this card.
True.
But it's 1 and a white, instant, common, deals 3 to an attacker or blocker. Certainly a playable card. I expect this format will be no different. So not much to say about Impeccable Timing. We all know what it does. We all play it. Yes, Impeccable Timing is certainly a good limited card. Next is True Heart Duelist. This is 1 and a white for a 2/2 human warrior creature. And it can block an additional creature each combat. And it has Embalm for 3. So this is also, just like the last one we saw, an amazing card. I love Embalm. This is great value. And in fact, this one it's also uncommon, but I would definitely say it's better. It's an excellent card defensively, right? Because you play it, you can buy yourself an attack against 2 creatures, and then you can Embalm it and buy yourself an attack against 2 creatures yet again. So I really like this card a lot. What do you think, Sam?
I mean, I think it's like I don't know if this is the first pick in Limited because it doesn't really affect the board greatly. That being said, it's just it's like, so I don't know if the peeps out there have been playing a lot of Modern Masters, but one of the like principles behind the draft format is that your blue decks are so good because your creatures all have abilities that make them kind of like half creature, half spell, and so you're able to gain card advantage just by playing creatures, which you're not normally able to do. This is a creature at uncommon that gives you card advantage in some way or another. Either it helps you like make an extra block, so it like trades with something and fogs another creature, and then you get to do that again the next turn, or it gets you 2 creatures for the price of 1, for the price of 1 card, I should say, something like that. So any effect like this that gives you substantial value for your small creature is going to be very good, I think.
Yeah, huge fan. Very cool card. Next we have Oracle's Vault. So I'm just going to make sure I get all the text right on this. It's kind of a little promo card. So it's a 4-mana artifact. It has 2 and tap, exile the top card of your library. Until end of turn, you may play that card, put a brick counter on Oracle's Vault. And then it has tap, exile the top card of your library. Until end of turn, you may play that card without paying its mana cost. Activate this ability only if there are 3 more brick counters on Oracle's Vault. So both abilities do a very similar thing. The only difference is one has a 2 colorless mana and tap cost, whereas one just has a tap cost. So I like that it sort of builds into a really good little card advantage engine. It's a bit clunky, though. We've got a 4-mana card right on the top end that doesn't affect the board at all when you play it. And then, on top of that, you have to pay 2 and tap it 3 times before you can start getting the full value. So is this card playable? Yes. Is it going to be like a slam dunk first pick? No. And what kind of decks want it? Sort of the only decks I could see that actually would want to play this are stall out. Decks that are incredible at stalling could probably play this card. But I don't think I'm going to super high prioritize this card in limited, and I don't think it's insane by any stretch. What do you think, Sam?
I 100% agree with that. I will probably play this in sealed. Also, for you standard players out there that are freaking out, they printed another broken combo with this and Paradox Engine. I mean, this only goes infinite. Okay, this goes infinite on turns 8, it looks like, right? Turn 4, 5, 6. It goes infinite on turn 7 if you have infinite cards in your deck that you can cast, like permanents and whatever, and not lands. As soon as you hit a land, you stall. So it's not infinite, it's not going to do enough, it's not fast enough, calm down.
Okay. I didn't even realize that, but that is...
Yeah, because Paradox Engine lets you untap everything, so you can just keep tapping it. Yeah.
That makes sense. Okay. Next we have Archfiend of Ifnir. I love demons. 3 and 2 black. Flying demon creature. Whenever you cycle... Here we go. So we've already got a little cycle value here. Whenever you cycle or discard another card, put a -1/-1 counter on each creature your opponent's control, and then it has cycle for 2 as well. Why would I... Here's a question, Sam. Why would I want to cycle my 5-mana 5/4 flyer? It seems like there would be very few corner cases where I'd want to cycle this, like I'm going to die and a 5/4 flyer is not going to bring me back in the game. But, like, is it a bit weird? Is it just me, or is it a bit weird that cycling is on this card?
So, it's obviously weird, but it only makes the card better, of course, because it just gives it more versatility.
More versatility.
I mean, this going back to, like, reasons to play the, what's the cycle card that gains life? Sorry, I totally forgot the name of it.
The Renewed Faith.
Yeah, this is a reason to play Renewed Faith, right? If you are the black-white cycle deck, if that's even a deck, we don't know. But white is a color that in the past has had cards that do things when you cycle. This is a reason to play it. That being said, I mean, if you keep a 2-lander and you need that 3rd land, and you think you have a better shot at winning the game if you play your 3 drops than if you keep this and miss land drops, maybe you cycle it.
And I guess you can res it or something too. I don't know.
Or you have Astral Slide on the battlefield, and cycling this is better than getting its ability.
Yeah, I guess that's true. But put a -1/-1 counter on each creature your opponents control. Did you notice this doesn't actually have a downside? Like, I love how it used to be demons. Well, I guess it's not always the case. They're even showing Carnifex Demon. All right, I take it back. I guess it was just, I feel like demons sort of traditionally, at least there was a trend where they have a negative effect, sort of, towards the person playing it too. That was supposed to be the whole aspect. You're playing a demon. Demons are not good. They are powerful, but they hurt you too.
This guy just wins games.
Yeah, this guy is just gonna put people away.
You know what I'm saying? Herald of Torment, the card I'm holding. Yeah.
I mean, regardless of the cycle ability, this thing is just gonna. And why is it discard another card too? Like I can't even. So even other cards are going to work well with this, right? That Mummy card we just saw is going to work well with this because it's going to make you discard a card and then they get another -1/-1 counter.
Yeah, I mean, you can Thought Seize yourself and then kill your opponent's creatures for sure.
So yeah, this card is great. This is absolutely a bomb in limited. I guess it probably won't see constructed play, but yes, that's a bomb in limited. Okay, next we have Glorybringer. So we've got 3 and 2 red. Is this a reprint? No, it's not, because it's got a brand new mechanic. Exert, that's right. So 3 and 2 red, flying haste, dragon. and then it has Exert, which is another new mechanic. So you may exert Glorybringer as it attacks. When you do, it deals 4 damage to target non-dragon creature and opponent controls. So let's go over what Exert is. Exert is when you choose to attack with it, you can choose to exert it. Now, if you exert it, you get this additional ability, 4 damage to target non-dragon creature, but then the Glorybringer doesn't untap during your next untap step. So I actually really like this mechanic. It's more versatility. It gives the player choice making. Making choices is always very valuable because it can be the difference between winning or losing the game. Glorybringer is obviously, it goes without saying, this is a bomb card as well. It's a 5-mana 4/4 flying haste, and it can kill things. So I don't exactly understand why it can't burn other dragons. I guess other dragons are able to absorb fire or something, but yeah, this is a great card.
Yeah, first of all, in limited it probably doesn't matter, right? Because dragons are kind of like demons. They don't usually print a ton of them, maybe 1 or 2 at rare, and maybe like a dragon whelp at common. So yeah. I don't really think the non-dragon thing comes up that often. It's probably just a flavor thing. But this card seems insane. It's a 4/4 flying haste for 5, right? And then your downside is that sometimes you want to kill a creature so it doesn't attack next turn. That's somehow a downside.
Yeah, your downside is I made that choice to kill something and leave it tapped.
Yeah, or you use that spider reach card thing, untap it, and then just attack anyways.
Attack again.
Yeah, I don't. Whatever.
Yeah, you're in big trouble if your opponent plays it, and you're a happy camper when you play it. So it's a good card.
That's the kind of value.
We don't have
Alex
to go over
likes.
these Planeswalker deck cards, but there's some cool new Planeswalkers for those decks. And then we've got the first card, I believe, that was spoiled from this set, which is Dusk Dawn. And this is yet another mechanic. So this is 2 and 2 white, or 3 and 2 white, and it's got this brand new sort of card frame too, which is just kind of mind blowing. So let's do Dusk is a sorcery for 2 and 2 white, and it's destroy all creatures with power greater or equal to 3. And then it has Dawn with this new mechanic, Aftermath. Cast a spell only from your graveyard, then exile it. And Dawn is return all creature cards with power less than or equal to 2 from your graveyard to your hand. So what do you think about Aftermath? What do you think about this card? What do you think about the template? There's so many questions, Sam.
The template's interesting. It obviously doesn't allow you to show off the art as much, so you see what they've done is they've done kind of similar pictures, but just different colors, which I think is totally fine. I don't think this card... I don't think this card's super ugly, and I actually don't think it's unintuitive. You draw this card, it's face up right now. Every player, I think, even my 10-year-old cousin that I just taught how to play Magic, I assume is going to think that the card they can cast is the one on top, right? That seems obvious.
Yeah.
And then a lot of people put cards in their graveyards. I'm going to use this card, but sideways, a lot of people do. And so maybe it was made that way so that when you put the card in your graveyard sideways, a lot of people do, you can kind of see the ability. I assume this is going to be a mechanic that's maybe on 3 rares and uncommon and maybe 1 really bad common. They're not going to use this all over the place. So with that, I think it's okay. The card, however, is definitely a card that I can see seeing standard play. Any card that Snapcasters itself...
Board wipe effects in general, you always have to leave it on the table that they could definitely see constructed play.
It also Snapcasters itself, right? That has to be insane. Also, the way this card is constructed fits into a white weenie-ish strategy, and we've already seen an uncommon white weenie creature, the 2/2, that you can make a copy of when it dies. So there might be a white weenie deck in the format where you're playing a bunch of small guys, you kill all their big guys. If they start to turn the corner on you, you bring back all your small guys. Something like that could definitely happen.
I like it. That actually, and because it can bring back all your little dudes, this could actually, for that reason, be a main deckable card. Or a not sideboard card, in constructed too. Otherwise it might have to just be a sideboard card, but because you can actually, cast it on the front end and then cast it on the back end to bring back all your creatures that have died. And it's only you too. Well, it does bring it back to your hand, but at least it's one-sided. I do like that.
But I mean, how good is this with like Gideon or something, right? You just make all your 2/2s, you kill all their big things, and you just attack. I think this card is the real deal. That being said, there is a history that the first card they spoil, or the first few like promo new things they spoil, aren't always that good. So I hope that doesn't come true. I hope this is good. My parting words before we get into real parting words is that the dragon, if anybody ever plays the dragon, attacks with it, kills a thing, untaps it on their opponent's attack step to block something, and then on their turn attacks with it and kills another thing, basically like 18 for one in your opponent, tell me, because I want to live the dream with you. That seems insane.
Yeah. I believe that's it for Amonkhet spoilers. I think that's it.
Yep.
Looks like an exciting set. Like I said, I like Ancient Egypt, so I like the theme. I think it's going to be cool. We've already seen some pretty revolutionary stuff going on here. And, quite a few reprints shown, but I'm very much anticipating seeing what future cards are spoiled, and seeing these 3 mechanics is very exciting. So those are my final thoughts on it. Sam, please plug your YouTube channel. Let them know where they can find you and your Twitch and everything, and let me know what you think about this upcoming set.
All right, so everything's SAMBALL49, Samball49, Twitter, Twitch, Facebook is Sam Rubin MTG, and YouTube is Samuel Rubin. I'm sure links will be in the description down below. I make draft videos and stuff. It's kind of fun. I try to make vlogs when I'm in Europe, whatever. These are pretty cool. I really like where they're going with the set, to be honest. Again, I'm a little worried for the LGSs of the world. Because cards like these, right? Cards like these, Scattergroves, Sheltered Thickets, whatever, these just perpetuate what I was talking about earlier when we were talking about the the Masterpiece S cards, where these are cards that are probably not seeing play in every single deck, so they're probably going to be in the $3 to $5 range a piece, which means that, if there aren't staples like Shocklands, and instead there are a variety of cards that you can play if they fit your deck style, that brings the prices of all the cards down. It means that no cards will be worth 0, but it means that everything will fluctuate in the 2 to 7 range, which means that it's less enticing for stores to open boxes and sell cards, which means it's less enticing for them to buy cards, which means that it's a little harder for them to make money and have collections and have cards for you when you go into the store. So I'm a little worried about that, and the spoiler definitely doesn't look like that kind of thing's going away soon. So what I will say is the flavor looks awesome. The card design looks on point. This format looks really fun and interesting to play from a limited point of view. With things like cycling, it definitely seems like you're going to have way more options, like more play pattern stuff to do in Standard than you have in a long time. Yeah. But I'm a little worried about like the middleman, so to speak. The LGSs,
that's a legitimate concern
like
that I definitely would never have thought of. So I'm glad that you're here to bring that up.
I mean, I didn't think of it either, but
All right, Sam. Thanks so much, and thanks everybody for watching.